So I'm going to read to you today from my book called For the Masses, The Forgotten, book 1 of books to come, and by me, Nadia Durison. If you go to Amazon.com and want to make a purchase, look for it under my name and not the title, because the title does not pull up under the algorithms yet because it's not popular yet, so you have to look for my name. So I'm going to read to you from chapter 5. Let's not focus on the bug in my windshield. Oh, hold on. Let's zoom to the beautiful Pacific Ocean we have here. Why doesn't it want to zoom? Okay, because I zoomed too much. That should be okay. That looks good, right? Okay. Anyway, chapter 5. Let me set up a little of the background. So Nora and her friends camped out in her backyard, and she's waking up the next morning. The next day, Nora woke up chilled, wondering why the heat wasn't on. She opened her eyes, and when she was hit with the morning sun, she remembered she and her friends had fallen asleep outside in her backyard. She had to admit Sasha's idea to go camping in the backyard was a good one. Nora felt like everything was brand new and refreshed, despite the fact that she had no parents and no idea what the future would hold. Nora was glad of the fact that at least she wouldn't have to worry about money or the house, as her parents had owned the house and Nora had a huge bank account due to her parents' successful ministry. She knew it all didn't matter. As long as she was walking with Christ, everything would be fine. Nora looked at her sleeping friends one by one. Sasha and Asher were, of course, snuggled in the same sleeping bag. Emily and Eric were sleeping in separate bags, but snuggled so close together they might as well have been in the same bag. Nora rolled over quietly and slowly as not to wake Jaime up so she could sneak a peek at him. While she rolled over centimeters at a time, she held her breath, hoping he wouldn't wake up. When her eyes fell on him, she let out all the breath she was holding and blew it right in his face. She immediately regretted it, hoping her morning breath wouldn't scare him awake. When he didn't wake up, she let out a small sigh of relief. As she looked at Jaime, another sigh welled up in her, but she held it. He was beautiful, even with his eyes closed in slumber. The sun behind her shone on his thick, long brown hair, highlighting the fact that his hair and face were covered in dew. As Nora was admiring his male beauty, she got a strong urge to reach out and touch his lips, the lips that had given her her first kiss. She couldn't help it. She did. As her arm was reaching out, Jaime's beautiful hazel green eyes opened and he smiled. Nora, caught off guard but never wanted to back down, continued to reach out for him. Instead of touching his lips, she aimed for his hair. She played it off like she was brushing something out of it. "You have a beetle in your hair. I just saved you from it," she joked. Jaime reached out to touch her face and smiled. "Your face is covered in dew," he said. Nora blushed at his words. "It makes me thirsty." Nora blushed harder and pointed her chin into her sleeping bag. "You shouldn't say such things," Nora said softly. "Why? It's true. I'm thirsty. I'm just too cold to get up." "Oh yeah, me too. It's a bit frosty and I don't want to move." Jaime looked at Sasha and Asher, then Emily and Eric, and noticed that each pair were snuggled next to each other. "Come here, let's keep each other warm." Jaime's voice was usually toneless and dry, but now it was full of masculine depth that even Nora in her innocence knew that something deeper was behind it. Nora longed to snuggle next to Jaime but was afraid. While Nora was debating whether or not to move closer, Jaime took the initiative and moved his sleeping bag right next to hers. "I promise I'll be a gentleman. I just want to keep us warm," he whispered to her face. Nora scooted closer to Jaime. "I trust you, Jaime. You've always been good to me." Nora's teeth were chattering, but more out of nerves than the chill in the air. Jaime took her chattering chomps as a cue to move closer, and within minutes they were warming up and smiling. The two teens lay in the grass with their sleeping bags side by side and smiled at each other as the sun rose. No words were said, save for a giggle from either one of them here and there as they played thumb war. They smiled and enjoyed each other's company in the intimacy of Nora's backyard, watching the dew dry on each other's faces as they played their game. Even though they were surrounded by their sleeping friends, They were in their little world with no one else in it. Jaime reached out to touch Nora's cheek. The dew is all gone. Yeah, I'm pretty warm now, in more ways than one, Nora said in her head. She went to tuck her chin in her sleeping bag again, but Jaime caught her chin. At that moment, he couldn't help himself but to kiss her. She had the most beautiful soul he had ever seen, and he wanted to touch it, to taste it. This time he wasn't shy about it. This time it didn't land on her nose. He kissed her lightly, but slowly, long enough for both of them to feel it. Nora was the first to back away from the kiss. It made her feel warm all over. Suddenly she didn't need the sleeping bag. She looked into Jaime's smiling eyes with confidence and knew that he liked her just as much as she liked him. It was in his eyes. Those beautiful hazel green eyes she knew she loved forever. Love? Nora unzipped her bag and hopped up. She was overheated and nowhere near chilled anymore. She walked around the backyard, lightly kicking at all her friends. Get up, you guys, let's go to school. What for? Eric sincerely questioned. For all his size and gruff, he was whining like a little boy. He had a hangover and wanted nothing in the world but to sleep it off with his precious Emily by his side. So, that is some of chapter 5. And I hope you like it enough to be curious enough to go online and purchase a copy of this book. Once again, let me see if I could be a professional at handling the camera at the same time as the book. It's called For the Masses the Forgotten, which you won't find in the algorithms, and it's only on Amazon.com, and it's by me, Nadia Dorison. So get your copy, like right now. Thank you. Bye.